Module 2, Section 2.2, we're looking at Challenge Activity 2.2.2. This one we're looking at a data set. So let's click this link to download the spreadsheet. I've already downloaded it over here, so we'll be going back and forth. Create scatter plots using the income and housing data in the spreadsheet linked above. Adjust the range of values in the horizontal and vertical axes, and create a trend line. So it says to look at income. What does it say? Income and housing data. So we don't need to look at anything except for these two tabs because that's the income and housing data tabs. So let's quickly go ahead and do our scatter plots, and then it says to adjust the axes. And look here, it goes 40,000 to 85,000. So let's see what we need to do. So let's go ahead and highlight these. Again, this is that, let's see which tab. This is mortgage versus income. And we're going to go to insert. Let's go ahead and go. All right, here we go. Don't mind my muttering when I make these stupid mistakes. So go to, we're already on the insert tab. So we're going to drop down to scatter. Here we have our nice little scatter plot. Let's go ahead and move it up to the top just so we can see it with our variable names. So as we can see here, all the data is bunched up over here. And remember our instructions said to adjust the axes appropriately. So we're going to go to add chart element, click down to axes, and go to more axis options. And we had what, 40 to 85,000. So see here how this x-axis is already highlighted. So 45,000, and automatically upset it to 85. And I believe the y-axis is correct now. Yep, 50 to 400,000. So now we have that. So let's go over to this home value versus income and do a scatter plot as well. It said to do it for the income and housing data fields. So we're going to click Insert tab. We're going to go to the drop down to Scatter. Again, I'm going to move that up in theory. Okay. Again, our x-axis is a little off, so let's go ahead and click down to Chart Element, Axes, More Axis Options. And again, we need to start with 40,000, and it automatically updates the rest of the fields to work out to what we want. So this is household income versus selling price. Let's take a look at our table over here to compare. All right, so one thing I noticed right off the bat is that we've got these three little data points right here, 45,000 and 100,000, which is about what we have. That's kind of close there. And we have these three little data plots. They look a little different, but it is a similar overall pattern. The higher we see for income, the higher we see for selling price. Let's take another look at our other scatter plot over here. So we see kind of similar. Here we have something all the way down at, oh, you know what I just realized? I did a 45,000. That's supposed to be 40,000. That could definitely cause some confusion. Sorry about that, 40,000. Oh, so we see here we have a little bit closer pattern like what we saw, like what we see right here. See these three data points right here match up with these three data points. And see even that little pattern right there is very similar. So it's likely that we're looking at household income versus mortgage amount. So we'll have to select that when we're looking at the rest of it. Just keep that in mind. Again, you can adjust these axes however you want. You do want to make sure it encompasses all of your data. And I do recommend, in this case, we're just doing a comparison to the scatter plot here. But if you were to actually be putting together a report, hint, hint for the assignments and the project, make sure to label your axes so it's really clear for the reader what they're looking at. All right. So the first question is here, which variables are used in the scatter plot above? Well, I would say household income and mortgage amount. We just did a comparison and we found that it wasn't the household income versus selling price. So we're going to say household income, mortgage amount. Is that what we decided? Let me double check that. Yep, mortgage amount. And what is the direction of the correlation? As X increases, Y is also increasing. If we saw it a different way, as X increase, Y decrease, that would be a negative correlation. So since we see them both increasing, we would say that that's a positive correlation. Now it says, what is the strength of the correlation? So remember that the closer this slope is to 1, remember your slope, your correlation coefficient, as we'll learn about in a little bit, is between -1 and 1. The closer your correlation coefficient is to -1 or 1, also the closer your slope is to -1 or 1, or like that line, you're going to see that the correlation is stronger. In this case, and I'm going to look at this one because it's a little bigger and easier to see. I don't know, it's not that strong of a relationship because it's not like one of those straight diagonal lines. You see here we have 45,000 has quite a lot of values in this, or data points right here in this $100,000 to $150,000 range, and they range all the way up here. Usually you would see more of a high diagonal slope here in order for there to be more of a high correlation. So we're going to say it's not weak. A weak would be like a straight line right here, but it's definitely a moderate, I would say moderate correlation. Let's go ahead and check that. That's expected. Again, mortgage amount and household income, positive and moderate correlation. All right, so now it says the equation for the regression line that predicts home equity using FICO credit score as the explanatory variable is this. Y hat equals 1,798, X plus 0. That means well, let's go and take a look. It says, what is the interpretation of the slope? Remember, the slope is that number in front of your X. That's the 1,798. What our slope tells us is for every unit increase of X, this is how much we expect Y to increase. So here it says, it's the increase in, remember, what did we say? We're predicting home equity. So X is our FICO credit score. So it says increase in FICO credit score as home equity increases, or increase in home equity as FICO credit score increases. Since that FICO score is our X and our home equity is the Y, we would say that that slope is an increase in home equity as FICO credit scores increase. And what is the interpretation of the intercept? It says the FICO credit score when home equity is 0, home equity when FICO score is 0, and no practical interpretation. Remember, the intercept is telling us what happens when X is equal to 0. So in this case, X is our FICO credit score. But the thing is, there's actually no possible FICO score of 0. It's on a 350 to 850 range. I know that just from my work. However, you can take a look, and if you were to look at this, you see all these FICO score ranges are much higher. Even over here, so we're talking about, what are we talking about, home equity? You can look at all these FICO scores, there's nothing in the 0. It's not a possible value. So it does not make sense to interpret the intercept. So we're going to check our answers. Oops, in theory, check. All right, expected. So just like we said, you cannot have a FICO score of 0. That makes no sense. And that slope tells us for every unit increase in X, that's the increase we expect in Y. All right, so that's the challenge activity 2.2.2. Let me know if you have any questions about this or anything else.